Real people, real opinions.
Real Talk Radio. The multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.
Ireland's classic hits.
Today is World Mental Health Day. And one aspect of mental health that we have been discussing today is how it has impacted your work and how you're dealing with it at work. Do you tell your boss when you need a mental health day? Are we there yet in society? We say we are, but really are we? Would you be able to tell your boss that you're feeling down, you're feeling depressed, you're feeling anxious, whatever it happens to be, whatever your mental health problem happens to be, and can I have a day off? Would you feel comfortable? Would you tell your boss if you're having a mental health issue? Or do you feel you should have to tell him in the first place? Say you're going through a terrible breakup and you're really suffering, or there was maybe a bereavement or something like that. Can you tell your boss? Or if you suffer from depression, do you let them know? We all take certain events seriously, like death, for example. But what if we are not feeling 100% and it's not something like a death in the family? What if we're just suffering because of life in general? Because life can be tough. Let's face it, many of us are suffering. Or rather than tell your boss, would you keep it to yourself? Would you worry it would impact your chance of promotion or an opportunity in the future? And if you can tell your boss if you think there will be no negative repercussions, should you? I mean, what about protecting our privacy? Should we have to disclose what ails us? And I talked about this before in relation to women and, inverted comma, women's problems. I mean, if you have a male boss and you're a female and you are having women's problems, you don't really want to be going to the boss and he goes to you, well, why do you mean you take a day off? What are you going to the doctor for? What's wrong with you? You're not going to go, well, it's me vagina if you really want to know it's dry. You know what I mean? You don't want to be saying that to your male boss. You kind of want to keep some things private. So should you be allowed to take unvouched days? Civil servants, we used to be able to do, I think they still can, a certain amount of unvouched days where you don't have to produce a doctor's note. Now, I know people are going to say, well, no, people will take the piss and they'll abuse that. And there are people, unfortunately, out there who will take the piss and they will abuse that. We see it in the civil service all the time. But in the private sector, people don't get that opportunity because we don't have unvouched days. None of the sector has unvouched days, generally speaking. I think maybe if you're in some of the tech companies, they might be a little bit more lenient with you. But do you believe that you should be able to? I mean, would you tell your boss you need a mental health day? How would your boss react? That's what I kind of really want to know is, what is your position at the moment in work? Could you go to your boss and say, I need a day off for mental health purposes? Or could you just go to your boss and say, listen, I don't want to talk about it, but I just need to take tomorrow off? Could you do that? How would they react? How would he or she react to that problem? Chris, hi, how are you?
Hi, Niall. How's it going?
Good. Nice to talk to you, Chris. Chris, do you think you could go to your boss and tell them that you're having, a mental health issue and can you just have a day off? Or can you just go and say, can I have a day off, please?
Well, I did do.
Oh, okay.
It's going back many years now. I did suffer with depression. I didn't actually realise for a long time I was suffering with depression. But then when I did cop that I needed time away, I spoke to my boss and he said, well, thanks be to God, you finally realised that, things are not right.
Okay.
And he just told me, take all the time you need.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, well, it was a great company to work for, I have to say. And they were all into looking after staff and looking after customers, so no matter what it was, even if it was you were suffering with grief due to a loss, they looked after you, so...
See, some companies wouldn't be that good. You go to some bosses and you'd say that, and they'd say, "Oh, for God's sake, will you cheer up?" You know what I mean? That's honestly, some people are just not as understanding.
Yeah, I think it's a lot to do with the fact that they don't really understand what depression is.
Mm-hmm. No, I get that.
Yeah, and I think higher up in a company, they probably do, but when it's your immediate department manager or whatever, they'd be the ones to go, oh, cheer up, it's just a bad day, you'll be all right.
Yeah, there's a difference between feeling sad and feeling depressed, you know what I mean? There's a huge difference, you know what I mean?
Oh, there's a huge, huge difference. There's even a big difference between grief and depression, And like there's certain steps you can go through with grief. There are no steps you can go through. There's no 12-step plan for depression. It's counselling, it's medication, and yes, sometimes you can work through it yourself. But it depends on how severe it is.
Should we all be allowed, say, similar to the civil service used to have, I don't know if they still have it, I think they do, a certain amount of unvouched days per year? Like, let's say 5 unvouched days in a year where you can go to your boss and you don't have to tell them. You could just say, listen, I need to take a day off tomorrow.
Yes, I think so. And I think you shouldn't have to be asked, because not just for mental health. I mean, there are men's issues, there are women's issues, very private. They don't
That's
want
what I
to
said.
talk about
I'm
it.
more so. I kind of used the analogy before the break of, a woman going to a male boss and saying, I need to go. And he goes, well, what are you going to the doctor for? What's wrong? And, you're going to, well, it's lady problems. You know what I mean? So, I mean,
Yeah.
you shouldn't really have to explain yourself every single
No,
time.
you shouldn't have to explain. And as you said before the break, yes, there will be some who take the mick. But bosses will be pretty quick at copping on who's taking the mick and who isn't,
Yeah.
If someone is constantly wanting to take a day here or there, a proper boss will sit down and talk to you and go, look, is there something going on? You don't have to tell me exactly what, but is there something going on that you're taking off so much time off?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's all just to do with communication, really. But
Yeah.
you will get companies who don't give a crap. They just want you to turn up.
Yeah. And that's it. You're just a number.
You're just we all are just numbers at the end
And you
of the
know
day.
what? It's those who
So-
are paid less are treated worse, generally speaking.
Oh, absolutely.
The ones that are in the
ones
shops or the
ones-
hotels or the bars or the restaurants on minimum wage, they're the ones.
no contracts, no unions, nobody to represent them. They're the ones that are treated the worst, yeah. Absolutely.
I'm curious, by the way, Jason. Jason, hi, how are you? Jason, would you go to your boss and say, you need a day off because you're feeling down or depressed?
No, we wouldn't.
No.
No, definitely not. Sorry, a quick one.
Is that a man thing, by the way, Jason?
No, so it might be just my industry. I actually was in a hospital 11 years ago.
Hello?
Hi.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Sorry.
hello. How you doing?
No, hang on, Monica. Hang on there for a second. I just lost Jason there. Sorry, Jason. Say that
Sorry.
again. You were in a hospital, yeah?
I was in a hospital. It was about 10, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And the doctor actually said to me, she says, because we're professionals, you very seldom take time off work. Just truck drivers in general, she says, whatever it is about you could be dying on the side of the road, she says, you just don't take time off work.
But mind you, some people are like that. I don't take time off work.
Niall,
I went through a
my
divorce.
body
I was
is-
on the air the night of my
like
divorce.
Niall, like myself, pal, the night before my wedding, I worked.
Yeah.
I slept. I actually slept it out the morning before my wedding.
To
I
my
was
to my
working
shame,
nights.
by the way, the day my brother died,
Could like-
I worked that night.
Yes, but Niall, you self-employed, yeah?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, like myself was for a long
But
time,
here's the
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But it's not.
But you
No,
know,
it's
the
nothing to do
difference-
with money, Jason. It's nothing to do with money.
No, it is. It is.
No,
Niall,
it's not, because
Niall,
I can tell you now, I have a very understanding boss, very understanding. And if I turned around tomorrow and said, "Listen, I'm having a really bad day," and I rang him and I said, "Kevin, I'm having a really bad day," and I wouldn't even have to ask. He would just say, "Take the night off." But he knows that I wouldn't. So here's the thing.
You're
What
a-
I find that if I throw myself into work, I can forget things easier. That's all.
You're in a different
that's
industry than
me,
me.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
I can. Yeah.
Yeah, you're in a different industry than me. In mine, you just go. I mean, the jobs I've done, you just went and got the work done. I had kids to feed. I mean, I had a house to pay for. I didn't have an understanding boss. I had what you call them conglomerates, a big multinational
Yeah.
that I delivered for at the time. They didn't give a shit what was wrong. If my van went on fire or my truck went on fire at the side of the road, they don't care. Well, the fire brigade are putting that out. You better be renting the truck out and putting it back. That's the industry I'm in. When you're in the likes of the civil servants, I have a family. I come from a family, and they're all bar me and a brother, and I come from a big family. They all work for the civil servants, right? And I'm the only one not invited to Christmas dinner, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
It's so easy to spend somebody else's money. They can take months off and not be asked a question. And the society we're living in today, Niall, buzzword, mental health issue, any time off. Oh, yeah, go for it. Whoa. Boss will jump a million miles back from that because he does not want to end up in the labour relations court. It's
So
easy,
as we were saying to Chris there a few minutes ago, do you think it would be abused if we said, that we should bring in legislation whereby you're allowed to take 5 unvouched days per year where you don't have to give an excuse? Do you think that would be abused?
Don't the government claim every single cent and expenses they're entitled to?
Yeah.
Right. If you're entitled to something and it's not costing you a goddamn thing and you're
You'll do
going to
it.
benefit financially, what do you think?
See, Chris, this is the problem. You know, when there's a suggestion that we should have unvouched days or not be able to explain ourselves or not have to explain ourselves.
I'm sorry, Niall, for cutting across you. Not even unvouched. The amount of doctors that will just write you off. I'm not being rude. There's
Yeah,
no
I know, but it costs you 50
money.
quid.
There's no money in healthy people, right? So the more prescriptions doctors write out, the more the kickbacks they're getting from the pharmacy.
I know, yeah, but to get a doctor's note costs you 50 quid.
It's a big vicious circle. So there's and the new buzzwords, Niall, are mental health or the buzzwords are GDPR. I pay your wages to the likes of guards, right? And mental health, and it's a shutdown. You know that yourself.
Chris, I understand what Jason's saying now. And also, by the way, can I also point out, not maybe in Jason's case, Chris, men are less likely to go to their boss and say...
I think men are less likely to speak about their mental health issues.
That's my
compared to
biggest
women.
problem.
Like-
Sorry, Chris, I do beg your pardon for cutting across you. Noel, please, can you just give me 1 second on this?
Yep.
In the
fire
last
away.
5 years, I've buried 7 male friends under the age of 50 through suicide. Will you please go out there and talk to somebody?
Yeah.
Our biggest problem, our biggest killer is suicide at the moment.
Yep.
Right, sorry, I didn't mean to jump that, but please, man, talk to anybody. Anybody. Somebody.
No, I agree with you.
But
I agree with you.
there's a better way. If the people you leave behind suffer the worst, you think by you going, their suffering ends. Their suffering only starts once you go.
Yep. I get you. And you're leaving kids behind possibly as well too.
It's not even kids,
Okay.
even men that don't have kids now, they're leaving families and friends, and
Yeah.
you know that way.
I know.
But that's our biggest problem as males. We don't go and
Okay.
talk. We don't go and get ourselves fixed.
No, I know, and that's exactly what I was just saying to Chris. I think women are more likely to talk to their female work colleagues, Chris, I imagine, than men would be. Like even within the workplace, I see it here even in media. The women tend to talk to each other a lot. The lads tend to just talk
At
shop.
the school gate, Noel, women meet for coffees.
Oh, yeah.
When have you ever rang
Okay.
a mate and asked them, I meet you for a coffee?
Okay,
You
yeah. Well, hang on just for a second, Jason. So in relation to these unvouched days, I do see what Jason is saying, that most people, you know, Chris, will take advantage of that. Now, they may genuinely be
Would it be
feeling
most
down.
people though, Niall? Because there's a lot of people like you, because I was very much the same. I'd have to be half dead before I wouldn't turn into work. And the reason I spoke to my boss about the depression was because I knew I was messing up in work. I was going to meetings and then had no recall of that meeting.
Yeah.
So I couldn't even write a report on it. And I knew I was messing up in work. And my boss knew I was messing up in work, but he knew I was going through emotional crisis before I even knew myself. But then, yes, there will be other people. But I think most people working want to work and they don't want to lose their job.
Yeah. Well, let me just go to Monica as well. Monica, hi, how are you?
How you doing? Not too bad. How you doing?
Good. Monica, do you think people should be allowed to take days off if they're feeling down, depressed, anxious, or, should they be able to go to the boss and say, I need to take a day off? Should they?
Yeah, there should be. But about the mental issues, they shouldn't have to tell their private business to the boss. And if it's not enough, he might just cop it.
Okay, in other words, we should be allowed to just be able to say, I want to take a day off.
Well, sure, if you're not feeling well and you're not able to go to work, you're not able for it, sure, you should be allowed to take it off.
Yeah, because normally when you go to your boss and say, I need a day off, he'll say, why, what's wrong with you? That's the first thing they're probably going to say to you.
Oh, he shouldn't ask. He'd be ignorant and rude. He should not ask. You should not ask a personal question unless they were making all the time.
Well, let me just offend employers here. It's not really personal. If you're taking a day off and a person, and you're working for a company, and let's say you're doing it every now and again.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, your employer does have some level of rights to, to get some explanation as to why. Yeah, sorry,
what
Jason.
What about the other workers that have to pick up the slack?
I know.
So if you have somebody that knows that they can play that system, that's the society we're living in now. You're not allowed to ask questions. That's it. I want a day off. Why? That's none of your business. You're going to the Labour Relations Court now.
Yeah.
That's the society we live in, unfortunately. And it's people with small businesses, Niall. If you have a company with 6 or 7 drivers, and one doesn't show in, right? That's a big deal. If you have a company with 6,000 employees and one doesn't show in,
doesn't
guess
matter.
what? No, nobody's missing them. It's the small family-run business, like you and I when you had your business, yeah?
I want to tell a story.
So you either have to employ somebody through an agency, which is double the bloody money, just to cover that person's. And some people do. Sorry, man, for cutting across you, but some people take the absolutely, you know what?
Oh, no, they do. Monica, go on, you have a story, Monica. You want to tell me a story?
Yeah. What would you think on this now? Right. I don't know the man, but I know of him. He went to commit suicide, right?
Oh, gosh.
And he didn't tell his family or anything, but he came from it. And now his family has him shunned and said he was selfish. And he just thought of nobody, only himself. And if he went to the door, they banged the door in his face. He has no family, only a few friends, because he tried suicide.
Because he tried to take his life. They've now shunned him.
So what do you think of that?
That's awful. That's the last thing the man needs.
I think that's very bad.
Yeah, no, I know it is. And that's the last thing the man needs. What he needs now is a bit of support to help him get through whatever problem he has.
Some people do think it's selfish.
Oh, no, I'm well aware of that. I remember the article written by Jeremy Clarkson many, many years ago where he talked about it. And yes, I can understand why people might have that attitude towards it, but they don't have a deep understanding of it then, maybe.
Yeah, but that's the person that done the act doesn't have a deep understanding of what he's doing to the people that he's leaving behind. Trust me, me and you both been in the same situation, or we've been both in that dark spot. You know that way. Thank God I had my father around. You know that type of way. But that just goes, because as men we don't talk, and I do think it would be women will go into a boss and say, "I need time off." And as we all know, a boss will just look at them and go, "Yep, whatever you need."
Chris, when you were working, when you went into your boss, are you still working at the same place? Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
But
Due
when you
to other illnesses, I had to retire early.
Oh, okay. But when you went into your boss, say with lady issues, I'm sure every woman has lady issues at some point.
I had them too.
Did they ever ask you what would you say? Do you go, I have lady issues?
They never ask. And even now, my daughter, she's 22 and works for a company. And if she's not well for a day, she'll ring in and she'll leave a message on the answer machine. Sorry, I can't come in today. I'm not feeling well. And that's it. Doesn't give any details, and that's accepted. And once again, that's a big, well-known company she works for.
And do they pay sick pay?
No, not for one day off.
Okay.
I think the statutory is 3 days.
3 days, yeah.
And then the doctor's there, and then you get paid.
Okay, so if she takes a day off that she's unwell, she doesn't get paid. Some companies will pay you, but a lot of companies don't.
My company paid me when I worked there, but no, her company is not for 1 day illness.
If I had my own company and people were taking days off, I would pay those for their days off if they were sick, provided I didn't believe they were taking the piss, and I would use my own judgment. You know?
Yeah.
And I think that's generally the way it works. In media, we don't generally have unions unless you're at an RTA. And I think that's generally the way it works in media. Those that are trusted to work hard and not take the wee-wee generally probably get paid if they take a day off. But those who are taking the wee don't.
Yeah. And I mean, most bosses are a good judge of character. They know who their time wasters are. They know who their staff are that are going to take. They might not know in the very beginning, but they cop on very quick to who's genuinely, taking a day off because they're ill and who isn't,
Nighttime Talk with Niall Boylan on the home of the 80s and 90s.
Ireland's classic hits radio.
John, hi, how are you?
How are you, Noel?
John, good. Should you be able to go to your boss and not really give an explanation? Should we have a certain amount of days that we can take a year just to calm ourselves down a bit?
Well, you've already got your holidays, whatever people get your annual holidays. You're not going to, it will be taken advantage of. But the thing about asking a boss, let's live it in the real world here. Nobody wants to go to their boss and say, I need a day off because of my mental health. Because people gossip about people in workplaces and you're treated differently. And there's a whole other thing that comes with that. Because, that, people, it's hard for people to speak if they have an issue in the first place.
Yeah, no, I get that. You feel there's a level of weakness about it or something. Yeah.
Yeah, like exactly. But like you'll be looked at differently, whatever. But like you shouldn't be queried. You shouldn't be queried. You're paid to work. Like I understand for small businesses it can affect big time, and for big businesses it doesn't affect big time. I know that kind of thing, but you shouldn't in general have to really explain yourself because you're not owned by a company.
Well, you're not owned, but you have a contract with a company, so you have duties that you must perform, and when you take a day off, you must have an explanation normally,
Yeah, unless it's like consistently all the time, say you'd have to kind of offer some explanation. But like the real question is, if you're genuine and you need a day off, if you're sick, you're sick, as you hear people say time and time again. If you're sick, you're sick. But like I wouldn't ever walk to my boss and say I need a day off because I'm stressed out. They think and now you could say it that way. You could say it a lot of different ways, but you don't need to.
And the company you work for, I don't want to go into details of where you work, but the company you work for, could you take a day off if you were feeling depressed? Would you be able to do it without having to explain to them what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so they'd be lenient enough when it comes to allowing you to take a day off?
Yeah.
Okay, and do you take many days off? Would you?
Average.
Yeah, okay.
The average, But like...
Well, I mean, what is the average? How many days sick have you taken this year?
It shows you're appreciated if you're not.
Yeah.
Like I've worked in places when I was a lot younger, and like you've asked for a day off, and even like I've seen people queried, why do you want why? Because I have to go to I've been in situations seeing other people even getting quit. He wants a day off or something, but why? Because he's going to he has to go somewhere with his missus or something. I would just stop. Sure, you could do that on the weekend. Do you ever hear like that kind of?
Yeah. You should really just piss them off to say why. Say, because I need someone to look at my testicles. Why do I
know a fella that went for his license recently, and he took the day. Oh, he went for an NCT in his car.
Right.
And his NCT was at 9 in the morning. She does 9 to 5. His NCT was at 9 in the morning, and he took the day off. Right, and the lads are laughing. You took the fucking day off the NCT, and like that and all.
Well, now, in fairness to him, the NCT can be fierce awkward. It can be difficult to get a time that you're not in work. Yeah.
Like he's entitled to take a day off. Take a day off if you want. And I've often said it before. If I want to take a day off and walk around the street naked, I'll do it if I want.
Yeah, well, hang on. Let me go to Sarah Jane as well. Sarah, hi. How are you?
How's it going on?
Good. Sarah, should we be allowed to take days off unvouched?
Oh.
No.
Yeah. Hard.
Yeah, I mean, would you ever take a day unvouched?
But sorry, can I just say, I mean at your own expense.
Yeah, well, at your own expense, yeah.
Well, I've never in my life actually took a day off. I genuinely never took a day off just for the crack. But I will say the last couple of months I have been having it really bad. So I had many days off.
Okay.
Crack taking a day off or not?
No, but you know what I mean? There is people that take the piss out of their company.
Yeah.
Like if you're a good worker,
there is.
No, but if you go to your manager and and especially in my case, I was actually changing into a different job. So I wasn't familiar with manager either. So that was pride on my side by not talking to them what was going on.
Yeah. There you go. That's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
You're not
but
going
I had to,
yeah.
But I had to sort of reflect upon myself and say, well, you have to be professional about this because you are working, as you say, you're getting paid to do a job. But on the other hand, if you're not mentally right going into work, you're not going to be professional and have a constructive day in work.
But you are right. Some people take more than others. Like I'm here nearly 14 years. I'll be here 14 years in May. And I've taken 1 week off sick, and that wasn't my fault. That was because they said I had COVID. I didn't actually, because it just happened to test positive. But there was nothing wrong with me. So when I have actually been sick, and I have been on numerous occasions, I had a bad chest infection. I went through 2 rounds of antibiotics in the last month and a half. I still didn't take a day off.
That's what I'm saying. I heard you there on the radio there a couple of weeks ago, and I'm saying you may think that and I'm just saying this now because I do care for you. like, I've heard you on the radio, like, and you are very sick. And then I'd be saying to that, like, someday you're just going to burn up. Like, you need to start. I'm not saying like that you're not doing it. Please don't get me wrong. This is not criticism or anything like that. But like, our bodies can only take so much. And when we're talking about subconsciously, like, you probably say, I'm grand, sure, I'm all right, I'll get through it.
I'm grand.
And then, like, no, but you know what I mean? And then the mental, like, the mentality behind it, like, for your mental health, like, subconsciously as well, you probably say, sure, I'm grand as well. But, like, unaware to ourselves, unknown to ourselves.
Oh, no, I know. And you're right. You're right. And don't get me wrong, my the boss here, Kevin, you know, he's a good skin. If I rang him up tomorrow and said, listen, I don't feel well, or I don't feel the best, or I'm just not feeling up to it tonight, there'd be no problem. I wouldn't even have to ask. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but here's the thing as well I was trying to say.
Because he knows that I would have to be genuine to do that.
Yeah, but like, that's a mutual respectful thing then, kind of in a sense that if you're queried on like, as I said before, you want to take a day off and you're queried and pick why, what are you doing? You have to justify it. And you have to put a little bit back and forth for it. You're going to have less respect for your employer, and you're going to feel less respected by your employer also.
Yeah, sorry, what were you going to try to say, Sarah? Because I have to wrap this up in a second.
Could he not just have taken the lad that took the whole day off for his NCT? Could he not just go to his boss and say, listen, it's any chance of getting an hour or two off this morning? I've my NCT to do.
Yeah, see, that's what I probably would have to do. That's what I would do if it was me in that situation. But some people would just take the whole day. And John said, well, you know, why not?
Okay, yeah, I suppose, like, everyone is different.
Yeah.
I can't, you know.
And so you've taken a few days off, Jane, of recent times because of your mental health?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what, you just get up in the morning and you just feel you're just not up to it? You just can't deal with kind of life in general?
Not life in general, but like if I don't feel right,
Yeah. No, I understand that. I understand why people would do that. Oh, there you go. John, Sarah Jane, thank you very much indeed. And once again, don't forget the most important thing and the most important lesson. Unfortunately, people got cut off there. The most important lesson is if you need to talk to somebody. If you're feeling down, and if you need to take a day off work, tell your boss. And you don't have to tell your boss exactly what's wrong with you. You know, I think your boss would be in a very embarrassing situation if you just said to your boss, it's private. Do you know what I mean? Just say to them, I'm sorry, it's kind of private, you know? So, and I think they would respect that. I think most bosses would, I would like to think most bosses would respect that, you know what I mean? Or you could just say it's a mental health problem. I know John said people don't like saying that because they feel there's a level of weakness to it. I don't know.
Real people, real opinions.
Real Talk Radio. The multi-award winning Niall Boylan Show.